Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a few days since I posted a video and my apologies for that. Long story short, last week was the craziest week of my entire year in terms of projects that were stacking up. I had a bunch of different shoots I had to go to, and just finding the time to film and record and edit and process a YouTube video just wasn't high on the priority list. But we're back and I have some fun news because during my absence on YouTube here for the last few days, I bought the Sony FX3. Now, some of you guys might remember a few weeks ago, Lens Rentals sent me the FX3 to test out and compare with my Canon R3. I did a whole video in Chicago comparing the Sony FX3 with my Canon R3 and gave a whole bunch of different comparisons and contrasts between the two. And long story short, I really loved the performance of the FX3 specifically for video. Now, a lot of you guys know I shoot with the Canon R3 and I absolutely love that camera. Don't fear, I'm not selling that camera. I'm not getting rid of that camera. That's still my primary camera for all of my professional work. But I have some brand and commercial projects coming up over the next couple of months. And honestly, I knew the R3 wasn't going to perform at the capacity that I needed it to for those specific projects. And so that's why I bought the FX3. Now, a lot of you are going to be asking, why not the C70 or the R5C? Why not stay in the Canon lineup if you're already a Canon user? And honestly, that's a great question. If you are interested in hearing those thoughts on why I bought the FX3 versus the Canon C70 or the R5C, I'd be happy to make a video all about that and answer any questions you have on that. But long story short, the FX3 fits some very specific parameters that I needed in a video camera for these specific projects. And so I decided to go ahead and pick one up. And it's been really fun getting used to this camera over the past few days. Now, one of the things I've been doing with this camera is actually rigging this camera out for a bunch of different styles of projects, from casual vlog stuff all the way up to commercial and brand projects. And so what I want to do today in this video is just walk you through 3 different rig setups I have for the Sony FX3, specifically talking about vlog and family work, short run and gun projects, as well as longer, more intensive brand and commercial projects. And honestly, even if you're not a Sony user, hopefully this video will be fun. I know I've really enjoyed watching different people's camera rigs and seeing how people put all this stuff together. One of my videographer friends made the joke that rigging out cameras was kind of like Legos for creative adults, and honestly, they could not be more accurate about that. When you start adding a cage and just applying different pieces, it definitely feels like Legos, but for adults. And so hopefully this will be an interesting video. I just want to walk you through all the different setups that I have, from super casual to a fully rigged out setup. So let's go ahead and dive in and I'll walk you through these 3 different setups. So real quick, right off the bat, I just want to talk about a few things that are common to every single of these rig setups. Obviously we have the FX3 body, that's going to be common to everything. And then I have paired that currently with the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 Art Series lens. Now, honestly, I went with this lens just because of the versatility and value of this lens, coming in at just over $1,000 new compared to the G Master version of the lens, which is twice that. I just couldn't justify spending twice as much for a lens that wasn't going to give me that much more in terms of performance. And so I went with the Sigma 24-70, and then that just allowed me to buy some extra rigging options for this camera with that extra cash. And that's the only lens I have for this camera right now. So everything I'm going to be shooting on with the FX3 is going to be with the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. And then because the camera doesn't have internal NDs, I do have to pair that with an external variable ND filter. Currently, I'm using the Peter McKinnon Polar Pro VNDs. I have both version 1 and version 2. Version 1 is without a mist component and version 2 is with a mist component. And so I just swap those out depending on the project and the specific needs I'm looking for there. So that's kind of the core of the rig. FX3 body with the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 Art Series lens, and then some form of VND filter just so I can shoot in broad daylight with wider f-stops. All right, let's go ahead and chat about the actual camera rigs. So the first camera rig that I want to talk about is what I'm going to call my casual / vlog setup. Basically, this is just a camera setup where I want to have a very minimal footprint, but still be able to capture great quality video and some decent audio. And so for this setup, I've gone with the Tilta full cage, which is the cage that I'm going to be using on this camera. One of the things I love about this cage is that it has the integrated side grip there, so it just gives some extra support. If you're walking for a long distance and you just want to take some weight off of your fingers, you can just kind of rest the camera in that support. It just gives you some extra grip. And then I've also attached the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus to the top of this camera with a dead cat to minimize any wind noise. And then this setup, with also having a variable ND on the front of the camera, is basically everything you need to capture great quality video and good quality audio in a footprint that's not too heavy or bulky or hard to carry. Now, sometimes I will take the cage completely off of this, and honestly, sometimes I pull the microphone off as well if I'm just documenting some random stuff and I don't really care about audio. But that little integrated grip on the side is super convenient, and honestly, I find myself using the cage more often than not. But basically, the casual vlog setup is just the Tilta full cage with a microphone and the VND on the front of the camera, and you're good to go. The second rig that I built out is what I'm calling my wedding / run and gun setup. So for this setup, I'm also using the Tilta full cage, but I've also attached this quick release top handle to the little NATO rail cold shoe mount on the top of the camera. And then I've attached my Atomos Ninja 5 with a little small rig cold shoe monitor mount to the top. This setup is perfect for weddings or little short film projects, music videos, where you need some more intensive monitoring options than just using the little flippy LCD on the back of the camera. Plus, this rig gives you a little bit more support because you have that integrated top handle, and this is perfect for quickly switching over to shoot vertical because the top handle has this quick release where you can just press a button, switch down, and now you're into vertical shooting mode very, very quickly. And obviously you can just rotate the monitor and you're good to go to shoot vertical if you have to shoot some social media content. Now, obviously, the one thing this rig is missing is an audio component, and honestly, that's just because my Rode VideoMic Pro Plus that I currently have is actually too big to fit into the little cold shoe adapter with the rig how I have it set up. And so I'm going to be upgrading or cross-grading over to the Rode NTG, which is just a smaller form factor microphone that'll slot into the cold shoe and make this whole rig very compact, but still able to deliver some decent quality audio for capturing ambience, for capturing room noise, or capturing some basic dialogue where you wouldn't have to have a full shotgun microphone, lav microphone, anything like that. So the rig's not fully built out yet, but I'm really, really happy with how it is currently, and the addition of that Rode NTG will just flesh out this package into a really, really high quality run and gun solution. And that just leaves us with our final rig setup for this camera, which is my rig setup for commercial projects and brand work, or honestly anything where I need some really high quality audio in addition to top level monitoring options. And for this rig, I'm still going with the Tilta full cage, but I've taken the little top plate off so I can replace that Tilta quick release handle with the Sony XLR handle instead. On the back of that Sony XLR handle, I've also added the handle extension by Condor Blue, which just gives you a little bit more gripping options for the handle itself, as well as offering a cold shoe on the back where I have mounted the receiver for my DJI mic set. This allows me to have two different lav mics running simultaneously into the XLR handle, and I've also run the Sennheiser MKE600 microphone with a small XLR cable into the XLR handle as well. So basically I have a very, very high quality shotgun microphone right on the camera, as well as the option for two different lav mics all feeding into the same place within the camera. And then for monitoring, I had to come up with a little bit of an interesting solution for this, but the Condor Blue handle extension actually has an inline NATO rail on the top of it, and I found this little small rig setup that has an actual NATO clamp, and then a couple little ball heads that go to a monitor mount on top. So basically I've just clamped the bottom of that attachment to the NATO rail, and then adjusted the ball heads so that I can have the Ninja 5 sitting on the back of the XLR handle. That just kind of helps even out the weight of everything as well. And so you have a really nice extended grip, as well as a monitor, an on-camera shotgun microphone, and then the option for two separate lav mics, each feeding individually into the XLR handle so that all of your audio will be nicely synced up and you're all good to go. Now, a couple things this rig is missing. Number one is a better battery solution because I'm currently still using the Sony batteries and those are notorious for dying very quickly. Ultimately, I'll be upgrading to a V-mount solution on some rails. I just didn't have a need for that or the finances to actually buy all that stuff quite yet. So we'll be working on a V-mount setup for this to kind of flesh out the battery solution. And then the other thing I really want to do is add an actual matte box to the front of this and get rid of the variable ND filter that's on the front. That way I can just choose exactly which ND level I want to have and then choose if I want to add a mist filter or a morphic filter or anything like that. And I'm thinking I'll probably end up going with the Polar Pro basic amp. If any of you guys have experience with that matte box or any specific V-mount setups, feel free to drop those in the comments. I'd love your advice on kind of finishing out this rig. But honestly, I'm pretty happy with how this is as of now. I think for just kind of getting into the FX3 in general, this is a very competent rig to have for those brand projects and commercial projects that are coming up. And I'm really excited to get this out into the field and actually test it all out. So anyway, those are the three different rigs that I currently have set up for my Sony FX3. Obviously, all this is subject to change. And because like my friend said, all this is basically just Legos for adults, I'm sure all these pieces will be changing and evolving over the next couple of months. But if you have any thoughts on this, any suggestions, feel free to drop those in the comments and I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace.